Welcome to Auntie Rose Narrates, where the life stories unfold, full of emotions, memories, and lessons we all can feel. What happens when the person you've loved your whole life walks away, leaving you alone? Let me tell you the story. My name is Linda Harris, and I am 58 years old. I live in a small, quiet town in Ohio, the kind of place with tree-lined streets, kids riding their bikes in the summer, and neighbors who still wave when they drive by. My house isn't big, but it's warm and familiar. A little creaky, a little old, but it's home for most of my life. It has just been me and my son, Ethan. His father, Mark, passed away when Ethan was only 7. A sudden heart attack. One moment we were planning a weekend trip, and the next, everything changed. People say time heals, but when you're raising a child alone, you don't have time to sit with your grief. You step into both roles. You become the strong one, even when you're breaking inside. You become calm, even when you want to scream. Ethan grew up watching me work long hours at the grocery store during the day, cleaning offices in the evenings, taking whatever part-time work I could so we could pay bills and stay afloat. He was a good boy. Quiet, thoughtful, gentle. He never complained, never asked for more than I could give. Every birthday, he made me a little card from construction paper. "Mom, I'll take care of you someday," he'd write, and I would hug him and say, "You already do, sweetheart." We were close, the kind of close that forms when two people weather life together. When he graduated high school, he got a small job at an auto parts store. His first paycheck wasn't much, but he came home with a single daisy wrapped in paper. "Mom, this is for you. Thank you for everything." I still have that daisy pressed inside an old journal. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful, and I had begun to believe the hardest chapters of my life were behind me. I didn't know the hardest ones were still ahead. As Ethan grew older, life became a little easier. Not perfect, not effortless, but lighter. He worked hard, saved his money, and little by little, we began to breathe again. By the time he was 24, he had earned a promotion at his job, nothing huge, but enough to make him stand a little taller. I loved seeing that confidence in him. After all the years of struggling together, he finally felt like he was building something of his own. That was around the time he met her. Her name was Rachel. I still remember the first time he told me about her. He walked into the kitchen with an awkward smile on his face, the kind he used to have when he was a little boy trying to hide something exciting. "Mom," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "there's someone I want you to meet." My heart warmed instantly. "Is she special?" I asked. He blushed, actually blushed, and nodded. I laughed softly. "Then of course I want to meet her." Back then, I had no idea how strongly she would shape our lives. A week later, Ethan brought her over for dinner. She walked into my home with a polite smile, a bouquet of flowers in her hands, and a soft, "It's so nice to meet you, Mrs. Harris." She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that makes you pause for a moment. Long brown hair, clear skin, bright green eyes. Very charming, very put together, too put together maybe, but I pushed that thought aside. She was nervous. That's all I saw. I made roasted chicken and mashed potatoes, Ethan's favorite, and we sat at the table talking about her job, her family, her hobbies. She worked as a receptionist at a dental clinic. She grew up in a nearby town. She liked reading mystery novels and baking cupcakes. She was polite, sweet, and careful with her words. Almost too careful, but again, I brushed the feeling away. After she left, I asked Ethan, "So, what do you think?" His eyes were glowing. "I really like her, Mom. She's different. She understands me." Asterisk, I smiled, hugged him, and told him I was happy for him. I meant it. I truly did, because when you raise a child alone, your greatest wish is to see them loved, really loved by someone who will care for them as much as you have. But something inside me whispered that night, A small, barely noticeable feeling, not fear, not jealousy, just something. A tiny seed of worry I didn't yet understand died as the months passed. Rachel became a regular part of our lives. She joined us for dinners, holidays, and even small Sunday breakfasts when Ethan wasn't working. She always brought something: cookies, flowers, a candle for the kitchen on the outside. Everything seemed perfect, but inside those moments I would catch subtle looks. Quick glances between her and Ethan when I said something. Tiny pauses. Little smirks she tried to hide. Whispers when they thought I wasn't paying attention. Nothing big. Nothing loud. Nothing you could point to and say, "This is wrong." Just small things that slowly built into a quiet ache in my heart. One evening, I walked into the living room and heard Rachel say softly, "Ethan, you really need to set some boundaries." I froze for a moment, not because I was eavesdropping, I wasn't trying to, but because the word boundaries felt strange, cold, like a line being drawn somewhere. Ethan's voice came next. "She's my mom, Rachel. She's always been there for me." "I know," Rachel whispered, "but you're an adult now. You can't let her control everything." Control? I had never tried to control him. Never. I stepped back quietly before they noticed me. My chest tightened, but I told myself not to overthink it. After all, they were young. Maybe Rachel simply wanted independence. Maybe she didn't mean it the way it sounded. Still, the seed of worry grew a little deeper. Despite the strange moments, I remained kind, warm, welcoming. I tried to make Rachel feel at home. I asked about her work, her family, her plans. I offered to teach her Ethan's favorite recipes. I even gave her my late husband's coat to donate to her church drive. I wanted to be the kind of mother-in-law every young woman hopes for. The supportive one, the understanding one, the one who stays in the background unless needed. And for a long time, I thought I was doing a good job, but slowly the distance began, not all at once. Not in a dramatic explosion. It started with canceled dinners, then shorter visits, then fewer phone calls, then text messages that went from warm to cold. A year later, Ethan told me he wanted to marry Rachel. I hugged him tightly. "Of course, sweetheart. I'm so happy for you." And I was at least in the way a mother can be when she sees her child stepping into a new life. But underneath that happiness was a quiet fear. A fear I kept pushing aside. A fear I did not want to believe. I didn't know that after the wedding, everything would change. Ethan and Rachel had a small wedding. A quiet ceremony in a little white church at the edge of town. Nothing extravagant, nothing showy, just simple, intimate, and filled with the people they cared about. I remember watching Ethan stand at the altar, his hands slightly trembling, his eyes soft with love as Rachel walked down the aisle. For a moment, I felt all the weight of the past years lift from my shoulders. My boy, the child I raised with everything I had, was starting a new chapter. After the ceremony, he hugged me tightly. "Mom," he whispered, "thank you for everything. I wouldn't be here without you." I felt tears sting my eyes. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart." Rachel stepped in with a polite smile. "Thank you for coming, Mrs. Harris." I nodded, returning the smile. "Of course, dear." She looked beautiful that day, truly. And for a moment, I allowed myself to believe the worries in my heart had been wrong. That maybe she would learn to love me the way I was ready to love her. But the truth revealed itself slowly, in quiet ways, like a gentle tide pulling someone farther from the shore. After the wedding, Ethan and Rachel moved into a small apartment across town. It wasn't far, just a 20-minute drive, and for the first few weeks, he called me often. "Mom, we got a new couch." "Mom, Rachel made lasagna tonight." "Mom, we're painting the bedroom blue." His voice always carried the excitement of a young man building a life. I cherished those moments, but then the calls began to fade. Weeks passed without hearing from him. I told myself he was just settling into married life. Young couples need space, that's normal. But one evening, I sent Ethan a text that simply said, "Hi, sweetheart. Haven't heard from you in a while. Hope you're okay." 3 hours later, he replied, "Sorry, Mom, been busy. I'll call soon." He didn't call the next week. I tried again. "Miss you. Can we have dinner on Sunday? I'll cook your favorite." No reply. Not even a short one. My heart tightened, but I kept waiting. Kept hoping. Finally, 2 days later, Rachel replied from Ethan's phone, "He can't, Mrs. Harris." "We have plans, Mrs. Harris." Not Linda, not Mom, not even hey. Just distance, cold and subtle. I stared at the message for a long time, feeling something shift inside me, a quiet, painful realization that the closeness Ethan and I once shared was slowly slipping away. The first real sign of trouble appeared one Saturday afternoon. I decided to stop by their apartment with a small basket of homemade muffins. Ethan loved them growing up. I didn't warn them. I didn't think I needed to. For years, we had always been comfortable with drop-ins, small surprises, little moments of connection. When I knocked on the door, it was Rachel who answered. Her smile was polite, but her eyes were tired, annoyed. I couldn't quite tell. "Oh," she said. "Linda, hi." "Hi, dear," I replied, lifting the basket. "I made these this morning and thought I'd bring some over." She didn't open the door wider. She didn't step aside. She didn't invite me in. Instead, she simply said, "Ethan's not home." My heart dropped a little. "Oh, did he go out?" "Yes," she said, giving a short nod. "He's out with friends." That was strange. Ethan would have told me. Or at least I thought he would. "Oh, I see," I said softly. "Well, these are for both of you." She looked at the basket like it was a package she didn't ask for. But after a moment, she took it. "Thanks," she murmured. "We appreciate it." Something softened in her face for a moment. Something I couldn't quite read. "I'll let you get back to your day," I said gently. She nodded and closed the door before I even reached the stairs. I stood there for a few seconds, staring at the wood grain, listening to the faint click of the lock sliding into place. She locked the door immediately, as if she needed to, as if I needed to be kept out. I walked back to my car, trying hard not to let the ache in my chest turn into tears. I told myself I was overthinking, that it was just one moment, just one door, just one afternoon, but a mother knows. A mother always knows. Something was changing, something was shifting, and whatever it was, it wasn't good. 2 weeks later, Ethan finally called. "Mom?" I almost cried hearing his voice. "Ethan, sweetheart, it's so good to hear from you." "Yeah. Sorry, it's been busy. Work and everything." "I understand," I said gently. "How are you both?" "We're good," he replied quickly. "Just figuring stuff out." There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable silence I had never felt with him before. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. "Mom, could you maybe call before dropping by next time?" I felt my heart crack, just a little. "Oh," I whispered. "Of course, honey. I didn't mean to intrude." "No, it's not that," he said quickly, but his voice was strained. "It's just, we need some space. Married life is different." Space, I knew the word. I understood it, but hearing it from my own son felt like someone gently closing a door between us. I swallowed the hurt and said, "Of course, Ethan, I'll always respect your home." "Thanks, Mom," he said softly. "I love you. I love you too, sweetheart." But after we hung up, I sat in my living room for a long, quiet hour, the room filled with sunlight and silence. wondering when my son had started speaking to me like I was a guest. When had the closeness faded so quietly? When had Rachel taken up all the space I once held? When had I become someone who needed permission to visit? The rising tension wasn't loud or dramatic. It was soft, subtle, like a slow turning of the tide, but I felt it deeply. Deeply enough to know this was only the beginning. The distance didn't arrive like a storm. It came like a slow change in the weather, gentle at first, almost unnoticeable, until one day you look around and realize everything feels colder. That's how it was with Ethan. He still called, but less. He still visited, but briefly. He still smiled, but it no longer reached his eyes. And whenever he came by, Rachel was always somewhere in the background, present but not present. Close enough to hear every word, far enough to never truly join the conversation. One Sunday afternoon, Ethan came to pick up an old toolbox his father had left behind. It had been sitting in the garage for years, still carrying the smell of oil and metal and Mark's old cologne. I handed it to him carefully. "Your dad would be proud of you," I said softly. He nodded, but his smile faded too quickly, almost like he felt guilty for hearing his father's name. "Mom," he said, clearing his throat. "Rachel thinks. Well, she thinks maybe it's time I let go of some of these old things." I blinked. "Old things?" "Yeah," he muttered. "She says keeping a lot of memories from the past keeps me from focusing on the future." The word stung more than I expected. "So your father is a distraction?" I asked quietly. "No, that's not what I mean. It's just, she wants us to build our own life." I nodded slowly. "I understand, Ethan, truly, but your father is part of your life, part of who you are." He looked uncomfortable. "Rachel doesn't see it that way." I didn't say anything after that. I didn't want to push him. I didn't want to give him a reason to pull away even more. But later that evening, as I sat alone in my living room, the words echoed in my chest. "She doesn't see it that way, Dot. Why? Why would she want to erase his father? Why would she want to change something so personal, so sacred? And why was Ethan letting her?" A few days later, I experienced something that shook me more deeply than I expected. It was Rachel's birthday, and I wanted to be thoughtful. I spent the morning baking her favorite dessert, a strawberry shortcake, and wrapped a small gift. A soft blue scarf I found at a boutique in town. Nothing expensive, nothing flashy, just something warm, something kind. I called before coming, the way Ethan had asked, and Rachel answered. "Hello." "Hi dear, it's Linda," I said warmly. "Just checking if you two are home. I'd love to stop by for a few minutes." There was a pause. A long one. Then she said, "We're actually on our way out." "Oh," I replied, trying to keep my voice gentle. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just baked something for your birthday." "Oh, okay," she said quickly. "You can drop it off if you want." Drop it off? Not come in. Not share a slice. Not stay for a moment. I swallowed the hurt and said, "I'll leave it by the door." "Thank you," she replied and hung up. When I arrived, I placed the cake on the porch and tucked the small box with the scarf beside it. I took a step back, hoping maybe they would answer the door, but they didn't. Even though I could hear muffled footsteps inside, I stood there for a few seconds, telling myself not to knock, not to push, not to be the overbearing mother-in-law. I knew she didn't want Dot, so I walked away. 3 days passed before I heard anything. Ethan called in the evening. His voice was soft, unsure. "Mom, Rachel said thank you for the cake." I sat down on the sofa. "I'm glad she liked it. She said it was sweet of you." Sweet. A word that keeps distance while pretending to be warm. But then Ethan added quietly, "She thought the scarf was unnecessary." Unnecessary. Somehow, that word hurt more than any insult. As if affection itself was too much. As if my love needed to be measured, limited, reduced to something smaller and quieter. "I'm sorry," Ethan murmured. "I didn't want to upset you." "I'm not upset, sweetheart," I said softly. "Just surprised." He sighed, and for a moment, I heard the old Ethan, my Ethan, the boy who once ran to me when he scraped his knee, the boy who promised he'd take care of me someday. "Mom, things are different now," he said gently. "I know," I whispered, but the truth was, I didn't know not this different, not this cold, not this far. The next turning point came. 2 weeks later, the moment I realized Rachel was no longer just uncomfortable with me. She was actively pushing me out. It happened on a quiet Tuesday morning. I was in the backyard trimming the rose bush when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. Double quotes, "Mom, are you busy? We need to talk." My heart froze. "We need to talk" is never a gentle sentence. I called him right away. "Ethan, is everything okay?" He hesitated. "Mom, Rachel feels like you're crossing boundaries again." "Boundaries?" I whispered. "What did I do?" He exhaled slowly, as if choosing his words carefully, too carefully, dropping off the cake. "The gift." She felt pressured. "She thinks you're making her feel guilty." "Guilty? For receiving a birthday present?" "I didn't mean to make anyone uncomfortable," I said softly. "I know," he replied quickly. "But she thinks you're trying too hard, that you want too much involvement." Involvement. Not love, not connection, not family. Just involvement, like a task to be limited. I felt something inside me break, quietly. "Ethan," I said, my voice trembling despite myself, "I'm your mother. I don't want to intrude. I only want to be part of your life in whatever way feels comfortable for you." "I know, Mom," he whispered. "I'm trying. I'm really trying." His voice cracked then, and for a moment, I realized he wasn't just choosing Rachel over me. He was caught between us. And he didn't know how to stand on both sides. Remember sitting in my room that night, staring at the small lamp on my bedside table. Its warm light filled the room, but my heart still felt cold. I kept hearing Rachel's words again and again. I kept hearing the way Michael stayed quiet. That silence felt louder than anything she had said. I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to steady my breathing. I whispered to myself, "Stay calm, stay gentle, don't let bitterness grow." But it wasn't easy. The following morning, I woke up early. I made coffee the way I always did, slowly, carefully, enjoying the smell filling the kitchen. It reminded me of better days. Days when Michael would rush down the stairs, grab a cup, kiss my cheek, and run outside. Days when everything felt simple. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee quietly, when I heard footsteps. Rachel walked in, her arms crossed, her face looking annoyed even before she spoke. She glanced at the coffee pot. "Mom, did you finish the almond milk? I told you I used that for breakfast." I had used a small amount for my coffee. I honestly didn't think it mattered. "I'm sorry," I said. "I didn't realize. I can buy more later today." She shrugged. "It's fine. Just try to be mindful." Her tone wasn't rude, but it wasn't kind either. It was the tone of someone who had already decided what she thought of me. She opened the fridge and sighed loudly as if to make sure I heard. Then she left the kitchen, her footsteps quick, sharp, irritated. A few minutes later, Michael came downstairs. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept well. When he saw me, he forced a small smile. "Morning, Mom." "Good morning," I replied gently. He hesitated before pouring himself a cup of coffee. "Hey, Rachel told me you two had a little misunderstanding yesterday." A misunderstanding. That word felt so small compared to what happened. but I nodded anyway. Yes, but it's all right, I told him. I don't want any tension in your home. He sat down across from me. Mom, things have been stressful lately. Work, life, everything. I just want everyone to get along. I looked at him, really looked at him, the way only a mother can. His eyes still had kindness, but they also had something else, a quiet fear of conflict. My son had grown up to hate tension so much that he avoided speaking the truth. Even when truth was needed. I understand, I said softly. He took a deep breath and squeezed my hand. I love you, Mom. I'm just trying to balance everything. My heart warmed for a moment. At least he still said the words, but deep inside I felt something shifting. A quiet understanding that maybe I needed to step back. Even if it hurt. Later that afternoon, Rachel approached me again. This time her voice was softer, almost polite. Mom, do you have a moment? I nodded. She sat down across from me, her hands clasped tightly. I know I've been stressed. Maybe I come off the wrong way sometimes. I listened quietly. But I need you to understand something, she continued. When you live here, there are certain routines we follow. I like things a certain way. I need structure. Her voice trembled slightly, not with sadness, with frustration she was trying to hide. I'm not asking for much, she said. Just don't make things harder. I took a deep breath. Rachel, I never wanted to make things harder. I only want to help. This is your home, and I respect that. I truly do. She sighed with relief, as if she had finally said something she had been holding inside. Okay, she whispered. And for a moment, I believed things might get better, but I was wrong. That night, after dinner, something happened that changed everything. Michael stepped outside to take a phone call, and Rachel walked toward me with a small stack of papers in her hand. I need you to read this, she said, placing them on the coffee table. I picked them up slowly. It was a list of house guidelines, kitchen rules, laundry rules, sleeping arrangements, quiet hours, what I could use and what I couldn't, where I could sit and where I shouldn't. And at the bottom, written in her neat handwriting, please agree to follow these to avoid misunderstandings. My hand shook as I held the papers, not because of anger, but because of the coldness behind them. Rules for a stranger. Not for a mother. Rachel looked at me without blinking. It's just to keep things smooth. I hope you understand. I forced myself to speak calmly. I understand, I said quietly. Thank you for showing me. But inside, something broke. Later that night, when the house fell silent, I folded the paper slowly, carefully, and placed it in my drawer. I sat on my bed for a long time, staring at the window. The moon was bright, lighting the room softly, and I whispered to myself, maybe it's time. Maybe I don't belong here anymore. It wasn't bitterness. It wasn't anger. It was a quiet truth settling inside my heart. The next morning, I woke up with a strange calmness. Not peace. Not yet. But clarity. Clarity that something was coming. Something I could no longer avoid. And when it finally arrived, it came sharper than I expected. Michael came into my room later that day, his face tense, his hands shaking slightly. Mom, can we talk? I looked up at him, already knowing. He took a deep breath. And those next words, they would change everything. Michael stood in the doorway of my room, his shoulders slightly hunched, as if the weight of his next sentence was too heavy to hold upright. I could see the conflict in his eyes before he even opened his mouth. That familiar softness the boy I raised was still there, buried under layers of fear and pressure. Mom, he said quietly, can we sit for a minute? I nodded and folded my hands in my lap. He walked to the edge of the bed and sat down slowly, rubbing his palms together the same way he did as a child when he was nervous. He stared at the floor before looking up at me. There's something I need to talk about, something Rachel and I have been discussing. My heart sank, but I kept my face steady. I wanted him to feel safe. I didn't want him to think I would react harshly. Yes, sweetheart, I whispered. I'm listening. He swallowed hard. I want you to know this wasn't easy for me. I've been thinking about it for weeks. I breathed in softly, trying to calm the ache inside my chest. All right, I said. He finally let the words fall. Mom, maybe it's time for you to think about moving out. I felt something inside me go silent. Not broken, not angry, just quiet, like a candle slowly losing its flame. I didn't interrupt him. I didn't defend myself. I didn't ask why. I simply let him speak. He continued, his voice shaky. It's not because we don't love you. You know, we do. It's just things here have been tense. Rachel feels like she doesn't have space, and I feel caught in the middle. I don't want anyone to keep feeling uncomfortable. I nodded gently, though my heartbeat was heavy. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Mom, please say something. I took a slow breath. I hear you, I said softly. I truly do. He blinked fast, like he didn't expect me to be this calm. I would never want to burden this home, I continued. You deserve peace, and Rachel deserves comfort in her own house. If my presence makes things difficult, then yes, maybe it is time. His face softened with relief, but at the same time, he looked guilty. Mom, I don't want you to feel unwanted. I placed my hand over his. You're my son, Michael. You could never make me feel unwanted. Not you. But the truth was, I did feel unwanted. Just not by him. I felt the sting of Rachel's coldness. Her rules. Her boundaries that didn't feel like boundaries, they felt like walls. Still, I didn't say a word against her. I didn't want to turn my son against his wife. I didn't want to plant anger in his marriage. So I smiled. A small, trembling smile, and whispered, it's okay. He nodded slowly, like a child who finally received permission for something he knew was wrong to ask. I can help you find a place, he offered. We can look together. I shook my head softly. No, I'll manage. You have a life to take care of. His shoulders fell again, this time heavier. Mom, I'm sorry, he murmured. I squeezed his hand gently. There's nothing to be sorry for. Life changes. People grow. Homes shift. It's part of the journey. But later that evening, when I went to my room and closed the door, the reality washed over me. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the packed bags I had slowly started preparing the day before. Maybe a mother's heart knows before the words are spoken. I touched the zipper, then pulled my hand back. I didn't want to cry. I didn't want my sadness to echo through the walls. So I sat there in silence, letting the weight settle gently inside me. Around midnight, while the house was quiet, I heard voices downstairs. Rachel's voice, low and firm. Michael's voice, softer, tired. I didn't want to listen, but the words drifted up the stairs anyway. She took it well, Rachel said. It still hurts, Michael replied. Well, it needed to happen, she added. You know it did. There was a pause. A long one. I know, he whispered. That was the moment my heart cracked just a little. Not because of what they said, but because of how easily the decision had been made without me. How quietly they had arrived at a conclusion about my life. When the house fell silent again, I pulled the thin blanket over my shoulders and closed my eyes. I tried to sleep. But dreams don't come easily when your heart is learning to let go. The next morning, I woke up with a softness in my chest, a fragile acceptance. I folded my clothes neatly. I zipped my bags quietly. I looked around the room one last time, remembering the laughter I once shared with my son under this same roof. And then I walked downstairs the moment I reached the bottom step. Michael looked up at me, his eyes instantly filling with worry. "Mom, you're already packed?" I nodded gently. "It's better to go now before anyone feels more uncomfortable." Rachel stood behind him, her arms crossed loosely, trying to look calm, but unable to hide the relief in her eyes. Michael rushed toward me. "You didn't have to do it so fast. It's okay," I repeated softly. "Truly." He hugged me then. A long, warm, familiar hug that made my eyes burn with tears I wouldn't let fall. "Please take care of yourself," he whispered. "I always do," I replied. But as I pulled back, I could see the pain in his eyes, a pain caught between love and pressure. Between his mother and his wife, I picked up my bags, opened the front door, and stepped outside into the fresh morning air. The moment the door closed behind me, I felt the world shift beneath my feet. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter, but I was alone. And that loneliness felt deeper than I had expected. That was the day I understood something important. Even the people you love the most can hurt you without meaning to. When I stepped outside that morning, the sun hadn't fully risen yet. The air was cool and fresh, brushing against my face like a soft reminder that life still had room for new beginnings. Even if the path felt uncertain, I set my bags down on the porch and took a slow breath. The house behind me, the home where I once believed my old age would feel safe, now felt like a chapter gently closing. Not with anger, not with doors slammed shut, just with a quiet final page turning. A neighbor named Linda, who lived 2 houses down, was watering her plants when she noticed me standing by the steps with luggage. She raised her hand. "Morning, Evelyn. Everything okay?" I forced a small smile. "Yes, I'm all right. Just going to stay somewhere else for a while." She tilted her head, concern softening her features. "Well, if you need anything, I'm right here." Her kindness felt like a warm blanket placed over my shoulders. Sometimes comfort comes from places you don't expect. I called a taxi and waited on the porch. During those few minutes, I looked around the front yard, the bushes Michael and I planted together years ago, the little wind chime hanging near the door, all pieces of my life that felt distant now. When the taxi pulled up, I took one last look at the front window. A part of me hoped Michael would open it, rush outside, and say, "Mom, don't go." But I also knew he wouldn't, not because he didn't love me, but because he didn't know how to stand between love and responsibility. And sometimes silence becomes the easiest path. The driver loaded my bags into the trunk. "Where to, ma'am?" I hesitated for a second. Then I said quietly, "The Willow Grove Senior Apartments, please." It was a place I had visited once before when a friend of mine moved there after losing her husband. The community was calm, peaceful, filled with older adults who lived their days with gentle routines, morning coffee, afternoon walks, quiet evenings. When I arrived, the receptionist looked up and smiled warmly. "Good morning. Are you checking in for a temporary stay?" "Yes," I replied softly. While she prepared the paperwork, I sat on a small sofa near the window. People walked slowly across the lobby, some with canes, some with walkers, some chatting with staff. There was a softness in the air, like everyone here understood something about life that younger people haven't learned yet. After I got my room keys, a staff member helped me carry my bags up to the second floor. My room was small but cozy, a bed, a window overlooking the garden, a little table, and a soft beige armchair. I sat on the bed, closed my eyes, and finally let myself breathe deeply. I thought about Michael, about Rachel, about how life changes in ways we never expect. I whispered into the quiet room, "You're safe now. Take your time. Don't blame anyone. Just rest." For the first time in a long while, I felt like the space around me belonged to me. That afternoon, I walked to the garden outside. A few older women were sitting by a bench feeding birds. One of them, a cheerful lady with curly white hair, looked at me and waved. "Hi there. First day here?" "Yes," I said with a soft smile. "Just moved in." She patted the seat next to her. "Well, come sit with us. We don't bite." I laughed quietly and sat down. The garden was peaceful, sunlight dancing softly through the leaves, the sound of birds chirping, gentle breezes passing through. The woman introduced herself as Margaret, and the others were Helen and Doris. They talked about simple things, flowers, grandchildren, favorite TV shows, and I found comfort in the normalcy of it, after about half an hour. Margaret looked at me closely and said, "You've got that look in your eyes. The one we all had when we first came here." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "What look is that?" She smiled slowly, kindly. "The look of someone who loved deeply, gave everything, and now needs to learn how to breathe again." Her words touched something in me, something tender, something fragile. I didn't tell her what happened. I didn't need to. Sometimes people who have walked similar roads understand without explanations. That evening, when I returned to my room, I brewed a small cup of tea and sat by the window. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink, and the quietness of the place wrapped around me like a warm shawl. For the first time, I let myself cry, softly, gently, without hiding, not because I was angry, not because I felt betrayed, but because I needed to release the HEAV-INES. The tears weren't sharp. They didn't burn. They felt like rain, slow, cleansing, honest. When I wiped my face, I felt lighter. I whispered to myself, "You're starting again." And that's okay. The next day, I called Michael. He answered almost immediately, his voice anxious. "Mom, are you all right? Did you get there safely?" "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "I'm fine. The place is nice." He sighed with relief. "I've been thinking about you all day." I smiled softly. "I know." There was a pause. "Mom, can I visit you soon?" he asked, his voice hopeful. "Of course," I replied gently. "Whenever you're ready." He exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath for hours. "Thank you, Mom." "I love you, Michael," I said. "I love you too." When we hung up, I realized something important. Love doesn't always look like closeness. Sometimes it looks like distance, learning, and growing. Sometimes it means letting someone walk their own path, even when it hurts. But I also realized that distance doesn't end love. It simply changes it. That was the beginning of my healing, not dramatic, not sudden, just a soft opening inside my heart. Like a fragile door finally welcoming light again. The following week, I began settling into a quiet routine at Willow Grove. It wasn't the life I once imagined, but it was peaceful in a way my heart desperately needed. Every morning, I walked through the garden paths. The roses were blooming that season, soft pink petals opening slowly toward the sunlight. Watching them reminded me of something my mother used to say: "Life doesn't open all at once, Evelyn. It blossoms slowly, petal by petal." For so long, I forgot what it felt like to blossom at the senior community. No one expected anything from me. No rules taped to the fridge. No cautious footsteps. No whispered conversations behind closed doors. Just simple living. Warm greetings. Quiet afternoons. And in that simplicity, I began to breathe again. A few days later, I got a surprise message from Michael. "Mom, can we visit you Sunday? Rachel wants to come too." I stared at the text for a moment, unsure how to feel. Part of me was hopeful. Part of me was nervous, but I typed back, "Yes, I'd love that." Sunday arrived with soft sunshine touching the window. I spent the morning dusting my little room, adjusting the bedspread, placing a small vase of flowers on the table. I wanted everything to feel warm, not because I needed to impress anyone, but because I wanted Michael to feel comfortable in this new chapter. Around noon, I heard a knock on the door. When I opened it, Michael stood there holding a paper bag of pastries, his eyes lighting up when he saw me. "Mom." I felt my heart swell. He hugged me tightly, and I held on to him with both arms, feeling the familiar warmth of the sun I raised. Then Rachel stepped forward. She looked calmer than I remembered, her shoulders softer, her expression less guarded. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly. "You look well." I smiled. "Thank you, Rachel. Come in." They entered my little room, and I poured coffee for everyone. At first, the conversation was a little stiff. Polite questions about the apartment, the people, the food. But eventually, the silence softened, and Michael asked gently, "How have you been feeling?" I looked at him, choosing my words carefully. "I've been resting, thinking, healing." He nodded slowly, his eyes filled with something heavy. Guilt, maybe? Or regret. Rachel glanced at me, then at the floor. "I'm glad you're comfortable here," she said, her voice quiet. I sensed something in her tone, something vulnerable, something almost fragile. After a moment of silence, she added, "I know things weren't easy at home. I know I made it harder." I felt a small shift inside my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. "I appreciate you saying that," I replied softly. She took a breath, her eyes glistening in a way I had never seen before. "I guess I just didn't know how to share the house. I get anxious when things change, and when you moved in, I felt overwhelmed." Her voice trembled faintly. Michael reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. It was then I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to consider. Maybe Rachel wasn't cruel. Maybe she was insecure. Maybe she was scared of losing control, scared of losing her place, scared of being compared to me. Maybe we were both hurting for reasons we didn't know how to express. I nodded again, slowly. "I understand, Rachel, truly. Change is hard for everyone." She swallowed, her eyes still lowered. "I didn't want you to think I hated you." The room felt warmer suddenly, as if her words had loosened something tight in the air. "I never thought that," I whispered. "But I did feel not wanted." She finally looked up, her expression softening. "I'm sorry, Evelyn." Hearing my name in her voice, softly spoken, without tension, felt like a gentle healing touch. After a moment, I reached across the small table and placed my hand lightly over hers. "It's all right," I said. "We're learning." Her shoulders relaxed and she nodded with relief. We spent the next hour talking more openly about life, routines, fears, hopes. For the first time, our conversation felt like it had space, like none of us were walking on eggshells. When it was time for them to leave, Michael hugged me again. "Longer this time. I'll visit next week," he promised. "I'd love that," I whispered. Rachel hugged me too, a small embrace, but sincere. On the way out, she paused and said, "Thank you for giving us grace we didn't deserve." Her words stayed with me long after the door closed. That evening, I sat by the window again, sipping tea as the sky turned a deep orange. I realized something important. Sometimes people break us not out of cruelty, but out of their own brokenness. Sometimes their fear becomes their anger. Their insecurity becomes their coldness. Their confusion becomes their distance. And sometimes forgiveness begins in understanding, not in agreement. I wasn't healed completely yet, but brightness had begun to return, slowly, carefully, gently. Like sunlight creeping through half-open curtains. I whispered into the quiet, "You're getting stronger. You're finding peace." And for the first time in a very long while, I believed it.